Hello everyone, Joe here from Draft FPL, and welcome to a weekly series helping you find some good value free agents and waiver pickups in Draft FPL. Quick announcement before we get stuck into the picks: I'll be live streaming an FPL draft this Thursday at 8 PM UK time. It will be my 6th and final draft of the season, so come along and get involved with that. I'm going to do some Q&A and final tinkering before the Gameweek 1 deadline too. Okay, without any further ado, let's get stuck into the Gameweek 1 best waiver picks. Okay, then the first man I've got for you this week is Meslier of Leeds. Wolves finished last season very weak offensively, and that is who Leeds play this week. It's Wolves at home. Meslier has a great history of save points. I believe he's got the most save points in the league for the last 2 seasons. And that kind of all leads to a very high upside, especially if Leeds keep a clean sheet, which isn't off the table here, I don't think. Especially if Leeds keep a clean sheet, there's a high chance that with his save points, Meslier could end up on bonus as well. So I think even if they concede, he's probably looking at maybe 3-4 points. If they do keep it clean, it could be close to 10. So I think it's a high upside pick this week. Moving on to defenders, the first one I'm looking at is Cesar Azpilicueta. As it stands right now, he's still at Chelsea, and it looks like he's not going to be going anywhere for the next couple of weeks at least anyway. I think there's a very good chance he starts game week 1 just due to the lack of other options they've got in defence. I think that Everton away is a pretty fantastic fixture. They are not impressing me at all really in pre-season, and yeah, I really fancy Chelsea to do well here. If Azpilicueta is starting and you can get a Chelsea defender off the waivers for this, I think that's a great pick. So there is a chance he could not play. I mean, there's a lot of options there, so we're not 100% sure, but I think that it's definitely worth the punt. Just make sure you've got someone on your bench that you're happy to come on if needs be. Okay, next defender, similar situation to Azpilicueta, is Nathan Ake of City. City got West Ham away. Laporte's injury means that I think Ake is almost, I wouldn't say certain, you can never say certain, but I think he's very likely to start. There's 2 kind of situations where he could start. He could either start left centre-back alongside Diaz. I think this is the most likely. But there's also a chance that Cancelo could start right-back, Ake goes into left-back, and John Stones plays at centre-back. But I do think it's more likely he plays left centre-back. City defence is obviously by far and away the best in the league. I don't have to tell anyone that. So anytime you can get a City player, kind of no matter what the fixture, I think it's a good idea to pick him up. And Laporte is out for a little while, so you could end up picking up someone here that you can keep for 4, 5, 6 weeks that may well play every game in that period. Final defender this week, I've gone for Botman of Newcastle. They have got Nottingham Forest at home this week. I do often fancy the newly promoted teams to score, and I do think there's a good chance Forest score, but despite that, sometimes you just have to look at the odds, and Newcastle do have good odds to keep a clean sheet at home this week to Forest, so you can't really ask for much more than that. I strongly suspect Botman will be first choice for Newcastle, and I think it's going to be alongside Fabian Schär. But I would say I think Botman's just slightly more nailed than Schär. I think it's pretty certain he'll start. The other option is a little bit more up in the air. I think it probably will be Schär, but not 100% sure. But if he's free as well, I don't think he's the worst pick either. As I just said for the previous pick, I do think it's a pretty good value to back the promoted teams to score in Game Week 1, especially if they're playing at home like Bournemouth are. I think Bournemouth are a little bit of a mess going into the season. I think they're probably going to finish 20th, but Game Week 1 does provide that little bit higher chance that they score, as historically that has been what's happened. I think Christie probably starts on the right for Bournemouth, and I think he does carry a decent attacking threat. Obviously, Solanke's the main man, and I think if he's free, then he's an easy pick, but he won't be free in many leagues, so I think Christie's probably the next best thing for Bournemouth. Next up, we've got Aronson. I did say when I spoke about Meslier that I'm not convinced by Wolves' attack. Well, to be honest, I'm not really convinced by Wolves at all. There's not a good atmosphere around the club at the moment. The transfer dealings have been kind of bizarre. So I do fancy Leeds here. I'm not a massive fan of Leeds either, really, to be honest, but I think this is the kind of fixture you can exploit. And I like the look of Aronson. I think he's going to be quite a good player this season. With Sinisterra's injury, I don't think there's any way that Aronson won't start this week, and he should carry some decent attacking threat. So I think he's one to watch for Game Week 1. Final midfielder this week is John McGinn. Recently been named club captain by Stevie G, so you'd think that will mean he'll almost certainly start in the central midfield area for Villa. As I said about Bournemouth, I think their defence particularly looks an absolute shambles. Scott Parker's been saying in the press that he doesn't have enough bodies and they need signings to compete. Well, I think we should definitely be trying to take advantage of that with Villa players this week. And John McGinn's the kind of person that could have gone under the radar a little bit, may well be free on the waivers. And I think if you can get any piece of that attack, it could do well. And John McGinn does have a pretty decent history of attacking returns in the past, so I think he might be a good option this week. On to forwards then, and someone I'm really looking forward to watching in the Premier League is Brennan Johnson of Forest. I do, as I said earlier, promoted teams do have a slightly higher likelihood of scoring in Game Week 1 compared to normal weeks. So I do fancy a Forest forward this week. And Brennan Johnson is definitely Forest talisman. He's the one that's really got the end product to take advantage of their chances or create with assists. He also should take pens. I mean, there's a chance that Lingard takes him off him, but I don't really see it, to be honest. I think Brennan Johnson will keep them. To be honest, he could be a really good long-term hold. The fixtures aren't fantastic, but I think once this team gets into a rhythm, they could be a decent attacking outfit. I like their system, I like their style of play, so I think Brennan Johnson is a nice pick. Last one for me this week then is Mateta of Palace. Now, it is a bit of a gamble here who will start for Palace this week. I do like their chances to score, to be honest. Arsenal have kind of a shaky record on opening weekends, especially when it comes to conceding goals. So if it becomes apparent who's going to start between Mateta and Edouard, then whoever that is looks like an absolutely great pick, I think, for Game Week 1. I do think it's more likely to be Mateta, even though Edouard did start the most recent friendly and I think did score 2 goals. I still think Mateta will start against Arsenal this weekend, but it is a 50-50. That's just my opinion. It could go either way, but I think whichever one you pick, the other one's definitely going to come on for at least half an hour, so they've still got a good chance of returning, because I do fancy Palace to score in this game. Okay, then that is a quick rundown of my favourite potential free agents and waiver picks for Game Week 1. If you enjoyed, like the video, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any content coming for us throughout the season. And thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.